Tonight, millions of people will put on a shirt that has nothing to do with who they really are. And somehow it will change how they see themselves. You'll probably do it too. Maybe there's a jersey folded in a drawer right now, waiting for the next match. When the World Cup starts, you'll pull it on, sit down in front of a screen, and scream at 11 strangers running after a ball on the other side of the planet. It feels like entertainment, just a game. 90 minutes? Then it's over. But the real answer is far stranger. What if the tournament isn't just something you watch? What if it's quietly deciding who you become? Think about what happens in your body the moment the anthem plays before kickoff. Your chest tightens, your skin prickles. You haven't touched the ball, you've never met these players, yet somehow you feel like part of the team. That feeling has a name, and psychologists have been studying where it comes from since the 1970s. A researcher named Henri Tajfel ran an experiment that, on paper, should have produced nothing interesting. He split complete strangers into groups using something as meaningless as a coin flip. No shared history, no shared beliefs, just a label. Within minutes, people started favoring their own group over the other one, even when there was nothing to gain from it and no one was watching. That's the moment social identity theory was born. The discovery was simple and a little unsettling. Your brain doesn't need a real reason to form a we, it just needs a label to attach itself to. A jersey is a label, a flag is a label, a team's name chanted by 80,000 people in unison is a label. So, what happens when that label wins or loses on the biggest stage on Earth? In 1976, a psychologist named Robert Cialdini sent students out across a college campus the morning after a football game. He counted something nobody had thought to track before: how often people use the word we. After a win, students said, "We won." After a loss, the same students said, "They lost." Same team, same fans, different pronoun, depending on the result. Cialdini called this basking in reflected glory. Your brain quietly rewrites its relationship to a group based on whether that group makes you look good. Win, and you pull it close into your identity. Lose, and you push it away like it was never really yours to begin with. Now scale that up. Not a campus football game, but a World Cup final watched by half the planet at once. For 1 month, every 4 years, hundreds of millions of people borrow their sense of self from 23 strangers wearing matching shirts. And the strange part is, this borrowing doesn't stop the second the final whistle blows. A sports psychologist named Daniel Wan spent decades studying the fans, not the players. He found something that sounds almost impossible. People who strongly identify with a sports team report higher self-esteem, lower loneliness, and a stronger sense of belonging than people who don't follow sports at all. Read that again. Watching other people play a game made strangers feel less alone in their own lives. Why would that work? Because belonging was never really about the sport. It's about being inside a we that feels bigger than you, at exactly the moments life makes you feel small. The World Cup hands you that we for free. No application, no interview, no proof required. You just have to care. But caring isn't free. It changes you, whether you notice or not. Researchers tracking fan behavior have found something darker sitting right next to the joy. After a national team loses a high-stakes match, reports of domestic violence rise in that country. Stock markets in the losing nation often dip slightly the next trading day. People rate their own unrelated abilities lower in the hours after a loss, on tasks that have nothing to do with football at all. Your brain cannot fully separate "my team lost" from "I lost." That's the twist nobody warns you about before kickoff. You think you're watching a game happen to other people, far away, on a field you've never stood on. You're actually watching a story happen to you. Every header, every penalty, every red card is quietly editing your mood, your confidence, even your relationships for days afterward. And here's where it gets stranger still. Which we you choose during a World Cup says something real about you long after the tournament packs up and leaves town. The country you adopt once your own team is eliminated. The underdog you suddenly defend with surprising intensity. The player you argue for online against strangers you'll never meet. None of that is random. Group identity researchers have found that people gravitate toward groups that already reflect values they hold, sometimes without realizing it, and then those groups reinforce those exact values right back onto them. You don't just support a team for a month. You rehearse in public in front of millions of equally invested strangers who you're going to be. Think about the friendships that get built inside a single tournament. The coworker you barely spoke to before suddenly becomes your closest ally for 4 weeks, bonded over nothing but shared anxiety in front of a screen at 2 in the morning. Some of those bonds quietly outlast the tournament by years. People have met partners in stadiums and fan zones during a World Cup. Two strangers discovering almost by accident that they carry the exact same we inside them. This isn't unique to football either. The same mechanism is running quietly underneath the brands you defend in arguments, the political party you can't imagine switching, even the city sports team you've never once watched compete in your own backyard. The World Cup just happens to be the rare event that pulls all of those private little identities into one shared global moment, so the machinery becomes impossible to miss. Consider how quickly a stranger becomes family during a tournament. You meet someone wearing the same colors in an airport, on a train, in a bar 3,000 miles from home, and within minutes you're talking like old friends. You skip the small talk entirely. The label already did the introduction for you. Anthropologists who study group bonding call this a shortcut to trust, and it's the exact same shortcut that once helped small bands of early humans recognize allies in a stranger before a single word was exchanged. That shortcut is usually invisible, quietly running in the background of daily life. A World Cup just turns the volume all the way up for 1 month in front of an audience of billions, so you can actually feel it happening to you in real time. So, is the World Cup just a game? Technically, yes. 22 people, 1 ball, 90 minutes, repeated for a month. But your brain was never built to experience it that simply. It was shaped over an enormous stretch of time to care intensely about group survival, and it still doesn't fully know the difference between defending shared territory and defending a goal at the other end of a pitch. That confusion isn't really a flaw, it's the same machinery that lets you feel proud of a city you've never visited just because your family came from there. The same machinery that lets a complete stranger's win on the other side of the world land in your chest like it was your own personal victory. The World Cup just happens to be the loudest, most concentrated version of that machinery left in the modern world. For 1 month, it gathers all of that ancient wiring, points it at a single ball, and lets billions of people feel it at exactly the same time. So tonight, when you pull that shirt over your head and sit down in front of the screen, ask yourself something most people never stop to consider in 90 minutes of football. Are you watching the game? Or is the game, quietly, one chant and one final whistle at a time, deciding who you become?